Now at Lowe's, faster quotes start at the Lowe's Pro Desk. Got a material list handwritten on a sticky note or saved as a photo? Perfect. Bring it to us and get a quote in minutes. And if you don't see what you need on the shelf, we'll help you get it. You can access thousands of products beyond what's available in-store or on Lowes.com, right from the Lowe's Pro Desk. Build quotes faster and source the materials you need to keep your jobs moving. Just like that, at Lowe's.
Family comes first is the motto many live their life by. But what happens when your family is having paranormal problems? First off, we look at the story of a young boy haunted by nightmares. Is this just a random bout of bad dreams, or has someone in his family done something wrong? Then we take a look at the story of a young woman who believes she was an only child, at least until the year 2012, when she found out she had a sister. But not a newborn baby sister, no. This sister was almost as old as she was, but she didn't exist before 2012. You're like, well, that can still make sense. It was quite a long time ago. No, she has a sister that popped into existence, is what she thinks, just out of the blue. And then finally, we take a look at the story of a young woman dealing with the death of her mother. When she moves back home to help take care of her mother's estate, she thinks she's just going to do some light cleaning and restoration before she sells the house. Little does she realize her mother's ghost now inhabits the house and may not let her daughter ever leave. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing. We got a ton of stuff to cover today, so let's go ahead and get started. First off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for Kaiser. Woohoo! Yeah, we high! He's running back into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. He was here yesterday, but he didn't get to ride on the Carpenter Copter, so here we go. Kaiser recently, it was actually a couple months ago, but Kaiser had bought some merch from the Dead Rabbit Radio merch store. He's doing his part in supporting the show. That is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the merch store, the Patreon, it's totally fine. It really, really is. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. And if you do buy merchandise, I don't know who you are. I don't get like a name. So take a photo of it, send it to me so I can give you a shout out. We'd really, really enjoy that. Kaiser, let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to toss you the keys to the... Oh, here's a new vehicle. Kaiser, I'm going to go ahead and toss you the keys to the furry 4x4, our all-terrain Jeep. It's covered in rabbit fur. Go ahead, everyone climb on board. You're like, I don't want to touch that thing. It's disgusting. It's all, some parts of the fur are still wet. No, jump on in, buddy. Everyone climb on board the furry that's a better name for it. The 4x4, whatever, okay. Everyone get in the Jeep. Everyone get in the Jeep covered in rabbit hair. Kaiser is going to drive us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to a seemingly normal house in a seemingly normal neighborhood. Sound of a 4x4. We're driving all the way out to the 4x4. Okay, we're driving all the way out to this house in a seemingly normal neighborhood. We're about to meet a young boy. We don't have his real name. We're going to call him Jerry. He's a little guy. He's 5 years old. You know, he's doing life. He's 5. What are you doing when you're 5? Are you in kindergarten, first grade, something like that, right? He's just doing probably like putting numbers and blocks and stuff like that. Flying kites, watching television. Normal kid stuff. But then one night he goes to bed and he falls asleep. He's expecting to have dreams about Bluey or Sesame Street or something like that. But instead, he sees a burning fire in his dream. Bluey's alive, caught on fire. He's like, Bluey, no! Ah! And then the fire explodes out of Bluey's skin, and it takes the shape of a human skull. And this fiery human skull is floating there, and it begins to say, "Put me back." Put me back. Put me back. Over and over again. Jerry wakes up, right? A terrifying dream. He hugs his stuffed Bluey doll. You're like, how long ago did this story take place before Bluey, okay? But he's hugging his stuffed animal. He's like, oh, Kermit, my only friend, you exploded into flames in my dreams. Well, anyways, the next night he goes to bed, and he has a dream. He's eating at McDonald's. He's like, oh, right, a quarter pounder. the most nutritious food for any 5-year-old. He's eating the quarter pounder. All of a sudden, Grimace comes out from around the corner. You liking your burger, Jerry? Grimace burst into flames. He just goes back to work. He's on the clock. You hear him screaming in the back while he's cooking fries, but then all of a sudden this flaming fireball shoots out of the McDonald's kitchen in the shape of a skull. Put me back. Put me back. Jerry wakes up. Next night has a dream. I don't know. He's eating Jell-O. He's like, he's lucid dreaming. He's like, I don't want any of my childhood friends here. I'm just going to sit here and eat Jell-O. All of a sudden, the Jell-O bursts into flames. The flames turn into the shape of a human skull. Put me back, put me back, put me back. He has this nightmare several nights in a row. And what happens is, if a kid can't sleep for several nights in a row, it's going to be pretty evident. I think even an adult, you can tell fairly quickly that he's not able to get a good night's sleep. Jerry goes, hey, Mom, Dad, I have a bit of a problem. I keep having this horrible nightmare. And he told him about it. And his parents are like, oh, that's pretty bad. Jerry's dad's like, oh, no. He's like all sweating the whole time. Jerry's like, Dad, why are you sweating? Do you also dream about a flaming human skull saying, put me back, put me back, put me back? And Jerry's dad goes, no, I don't have the same dream, but I'll be honest with you guys. I don't even think he told his wife about this. He goes, hey, I'll be honest with you guys. About a week before you said these nightmares started earlier, a couple days ago, and Jerry's like, yeah, and Dad goes, well, a week before that, I was out digging in the yard. Actually, he didn't say the yard. I don't know where. He said I was out digging somewhere. He doesn't specifically say it was like on their property or out in the middle of the forest or whatever. Maybe that's his hobby. This is before Minecraft, but he still had that yearn to be in the mines. The dad goes, yeah, I'll be honest with you guys, about a week before all this started, I was out digging and I found a skull, a human skull. It would explain a lot, right? Was it on fire? No, but, I figured it's connected somehow. I found this skull buried underground and it looked like the skull of a indigenous person, a native. And Jerry's like, yeah, that's probably, even if I didn't have nightmares, you shouldn't have done that. Where's it at now? And Dad goes, it's in the basement. Put it in the basement. So they show Jerry the skull. They're like, is this what it looked like in your dreams? He's like, yeah, kind of. Can we cover it in lighter fluid instead of ignite it? That might seal the deal. They show him the skull. He probably didn't believe him, right? He's probably like, what? My parents aren't that stupid. Who's digging up the skulls of the dead and bringing them home? They show him the skull, and he said, once I realized this whole thing, I heard the story, I realized there was nothing more important than putting that skull back. Like it was going to override anything else. He's like, we got to put that back, right? And it's funny because when Jerry wrote this up online, he did have to say, I begged my dad to help. So I'm pretty sure the dad was like, Jerry, listen, I know dreams, they're bad, but that's only 8 hours of your day. Having this cool human skull in your basement, that's all the time. And Jerry had to beg Dad to get rid of it. Fine. But anyway, so the dad does say, fine, I'll do it. And they actually walk out to where he had dug it up. Jerry and his dad put the skull back into the ground, and then he never had the nightmares again after that. It's an interesting story. It's funny because it sounds super stereotypical. I'm sure you guys have all heard the story about the old man who was really hungry one day, and he went out to his garden, and he didn't find any potatoes or carrots to make his stew, but instead he found a big toe. You guys heard this story before? So the old man takes the big toe home and goes, this will probably taste delicious, right? It also might unlock my cannibalism fetish. He throws the toe into a big pot of water, cooks it up and eats toe stew that night. And then later that night, he's sleeping and he hears someone go, "Who ate my big toe? Who ate my..." You're like, Jason, yes, we've heard that story. We know how it ends. I hope you're not going to yell at the top of your lungs, "Was it you?" A famous story, right? You're like, what? Maybe in Appalachia, my grandpa, who is an Okie, right? I'm sure that's actually a super offensive term, sorry. It means you were born and raised in Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl. My grandpa was born and raised in Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl, and his family had to leave because, dusty, plus they ran out of human toes to eat. But I remember when I was a kid, my grandpa would tell me that story, and I would love it, and I'd be like waiting. I was, Grandpa, tell me a story about big toe stew. "Oh, come here, Jason. I'll tell you the story about big toe stew right after I finish this delicious bowl of big toe stew. I am the main character of that story. It's autobiographical." And it ends with you keep saying, "Who's got my big toe? Who's got my big toe?" And then there's a long silence at the end. The ghost is creeping through the house. The old man's hiding. And then there's a long silence at the end. And my grandpa would go, "Was it you?" And he'd always jump because he'd do it really loud. He'd do it really loud. He was a big guy and he pointed directly at you, screaming at the top of his lungs. And it would scare you, but, it's funny. The first time you did it, you peed your pants. But after that, it was just kind of a funny story, that build up and release. That's kind of what this story sounds like. And we have tons of stories in both fiction and in the real world about things like this. People digging up sacred areas, disturbing the bodies of the dead, and then these types of visions in their dreams. What's interesting about this one is why Jerry? And I bet you the answer is, if I had to guess, because Jerry didn't dig it up, he was completely innocent in all of this. One of two things. One, Jerry as a child was more susceptible to being communicated to by a spirit. We've talked about that a lot on this show. Kids don't really know. I know, I got a bunch of kids screaming outside right now. Sorry about that, but they're like, "Oh, I'm burning up, I'm on fire." I was like, "Oh, forget that. Forget the screams of burning skulls and children from behind me. Focus on the story." Kids, because they don't know what's real and what's not real, they won't immediately, on a subconscious level, dismiss things speaking to them, or dreams of prophecy, or seeing ghosts, or things like that. Now, since so many people don't believe this stuff is real, you could see something in your brain just because that's not real, ignore it. And you might remember it as you saw something out of the corner of your eye down your hallway. That's how you remember it. That's how your brain allowed you to remember it. But what you really saw was your grandma crouched on all fours, scuttling towards you backwards, just to make it extra creepy. She's coming at you butthole first down the hallway. But your brain doesn't want to perceive that. I mean, to be fair, nobody does. But you'll remember it. You'll sense it as something else. But that's what actually happened. A kid would actually see grandma on all fours scuttling down the hallway, butthole first, because they don't have a firm grasp on what is real and what is not, or what society says is real and what is not. The other option, what's interesting about the story, is it's very likely that Jerry's dad had a nightmare or two, but brushed it off. I was like, whatever. I must have had a little too much toast stew last night. Must have been a bit of indigestion, some undigested toe. And it may have happened to him once or twice. He might not remember it. Or he may remember it and go, "I just ignored it and it went away." So Jerry, you can do that as well. Just stop being awakened by screaming souls of the damned. It's totally fine. Jerry's like, "Please, Dad, can we bury the skull?" It's possible that the dad had a dream or two and either didn't remember it, wasn't receptive to the message, or just straight up ignored it. Maybe slept through it. It'd be interesting if no one in the family ever hit REM sleep, if all of them had a hard time dreaming. The message when it went completely unheard. In a way, it's a very typical, almost stereotypical story about digging up native artifacts, native bones, and the ramifications of that, the repercussions of that. But the reason why those stories are stereotypical, because they happen fairly regularly. I mean, not as often as, say, getting a letter from the power company. It doesn't happen once a month, but you know what I mean? The reason why these stories sound familiar is because they happen enough times that they ring true. Kaiser, let's go ahead and toss you the keys of the world. Famous Carpenter Copter. We're leaving behind that story and moving on to this story. If that seems like an abrupt intro, it will make sense soon enough. Because the question of what is a family could be in play here. What do you consider a family? Can a family be two people? Is a mother and a father, or they don't have kids? Is a husband and wife? This is actually a legit question now that I think about it. Is a husband and a wife considered a family? If someone said, hey, bro, what are you doing after work? Oh, I'm going to go home and hang out with my family. Oh, okay, cool. Loser. Like, I hope he dreams about a flaming skull tonight. I mailed him one. He's going to be delivered directly into his basement without his knowledge, because he's a loser. He's not watching Mortal Kombat 2 at the theater for the third time. He goes, I'm going to hang out with my family. And he keeps saying that. Hey, dude, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going to go hang out with my family. Hey, man, how's everything going? Oh, me and my family are going good. And then you find out he's married. And you're like, do you guys have kids? No. So it's just you and your wife. Yeah. Is that a family? Is it a family? I don't know. I always assumed a family had one other element. What do they say? Mama and me and baby makes three? Okay, that doesn't help my argument, but what I'm saying is that I always assumed you could have let's just say a mother and a father, or a husband and a wife, and then a third element, which could be a kid, it could be an animal, it could be an Earth human skull, and it's an other entity in that pod. I wouldn't consider a husband and wife a family. I don't consider that I think I'm right? I mean, I have the internet literally half a foot away from me. I can Google it, but I'm a little busy doing the show. But anyways, that's what we're going to kind of be looking at here, because we're going to meet a young woman. Her name, we don't have a real name. We're going to call her Christine. And Christine, this started in May 2026, a super recent story. Christine lives with her mother. We're going to take a slight detour here. The reason why I'm addressing this is because you can probably tell for the rest of the episode, I'll be pissed off. You're like, what? Did you find out the definition of family does include a husband and wife? Technically, it doesn't. It's called a family nucleus, which is something completely different. But I fell, little asterisk next to this, I fell down. But technically, I didn't. What type of odd segue is this? Listen, I'm just being honest. I'm upset right now. I'm in a lot of pain. I was over at somebody's house who decided, for whatever reason, to, one, not have a working porch light. And then, basically, because they have a death wish, but this death wish has now been enacted on me, litters their front steps with potted plants. Here you go, Jason. Everyone has a hobby. Everyone loves killing people. Well, you seem to. You're always talking about it. But we're not talking like big potted plants that you can see even in the dark without a porch light. We're talking little potted plants, like little guys. Stair-sized potted plants, the exact height of a stair, even with the plant in it. So I came walking out of this girl's house. These shows don't always get recorded in one go. I was over at this girl's house, and I was walking out, and I stepped on one of these completely pitch black potted plants. And, it's not a steep fall. It's only like 2 or 3 stairs. I do turn 50, and I do turn 50 in 4 months, and everyone knows. You know what's funny is 50 is not even old as far as like falling down and getting hurt. That's when you're in your 70s. That's for those elderly freaks out there. Not me, Mr. Big Bones. I was falling, and with lightning speed, I reached out and grabbed hold of one of the pillars of the house. What are those called? It's just like a piece of wood holding up the porch roof. I don't know. There's probably some architectural name for it. Post. Anyways, I reached out with lightning speed, and actually you could hear the thunder. It actually separated the atoms in the atmosphere. It was that fast. And stopped myself from falling flat on my face, which would have been really bad. The problem is that my left arm, for a while now, has not been great. I had a very, very mild injury about a month or two ago on my left tricep. I was working out and was lifting a little too much for triceps, or my triceps at least. not most people's triceps. You're talking to He-Man here. But anyways, just a minor soreness, and then just wear and tear on the left arm in general. It's been kind of a rough thing. Everyone knows I am a veteran of Battlefield 6. My left arm does a lot of finger tapping when I'm playing Battlefield 6 all the time. So, to like generalize, like Jason, this sounds like a you problem, and it sounds like you started it. Like, here's the thing. I had a mild annoying pain, and I could treat it and it would be well. But whatever happened when I was falling, when I reached out and grabbed that post, I immediately felt the pain shoot down my arm. And it hasn't returned to normal since. So I have to go to the doctor, and I have a massage girl that she can do stuff. I actually saw her probably about 2 weeks ago when I was telling her about my finger stuff I left out the parts from playing video games. I was like, oh yeah, giving all these gifts to orphans really does a lot to the wrists. And she was showing me some exercises. She goes, you got to stop by, I'll take care of it. She showed me, she goes, the pain's actually coming from your forearms. So she was doing all this stuff and put some oil and cream on me. And I'm making an appointment with her post-haste. But yeah, whatever happened really aggravated everything. I think it was a couple minor wear and tear injuries that now, like checking your watch, you're like, Jason, we don't care. It's not that big of a deal. I think you're talking about the story we're going to do was about a young woman having a serious mental health crisis. All you did was hurt your arm fairly recently. You're acting like it's been 9 months. You're like, I still can't move my arm. It just hurts. It hurts. And, it's one of those things that it's just hard to treat. And anyways, I'm in not a great mood. The reason why I'm bringing all that stuff up is, one, for all your sympathy cards I know I'll receive, but two, just not in a great mood because I'm in pain right now. So anyways, I may be a little more short than normal with the contents of some of my stuff. And I am going to go ahead and cut to the chase on this one. We're telling the story about this young woman. Where did I even put my notes? Let's go ahead and take a look here. This story is basically about this young woman. Jason, just in the episode. You obviously don't even... I know I want to tell these stories. They're interesting. But, luckily I can just kind of sit here with my arm on the table and nurse my wound as you play the world's smallest violin. You're like, Jason, it's not that big of a deal. It hurts, man. Okay, so this is a story. Yes, this woman, she's suffering a major mental health crisis, or is she? Really is the question. I think probably yes, but this story allows me to examine some other stuff going on. We have this young woman. We're going to go ahead and call her Christine. The story really started in May 2026, or did it? She said in May of 2026, she found out for the very first time she has a sister, an adult sister, not a brand new baby born sister, not that the mom came home and said, look, Christine, your baby sister, and pulls it right out of her still warm womb. I put it back in there to take it home. I didn't have a car seat, so I just shoved the baby back up inside me. Took a city bus. Here's your sister. Pulls out a dripping wet baby. Her sister, whose name is Myra, that's her real name. Christine says, yeah, so, I don't have a sister. But in May, my mom was like, hey, are you going to hang out with your sister? Your sister's coming over. And Christine's like, what are you talking about? I don't have a sister. What? Yeah, you do. Your sister's Myra, and she's an adult. You've had this sister for a long time. But Christine doesn't remember having a sister. She doesn't have a sister. She never had a sister. Yet, here's a photograph. Her mom shows Christine a photograph of Christine and this unknown woman standing next to each other. Mom goes, that's your sister, Myra. So how could this even happen? How could this even be a thing? Well, on the one hand, it could be somebody who's suffering from such a mental illness that they don't recognize their own sister. Like, their brain has memory holes in it. Maybe she fell off a porch. Maybe she slipped on a tiny flower pot, and as she's falling through the air, part of her brain goes, I'm out of here, and flies out. There could be all sorts of mental illnesses that could result in this type of thing. But that's not what Christine believes. Christine believes what has happened is that this is a personal Mandela effect. That she has actually shifted into a timeline where she has a sister. when in her original timeline, she had no sister. And this is an interesting subset. There is a community on Reddit called Retconned, and most of the time they talk about high-level Mandela Effect stuff, like in the James Bond movie, there's the girl who had braces and she falls in love with the metal-faced freak, Jaws. And that doesn't happen anymore. If you watch that, I forgot what James Bond movie it was, but I didn't plan on going down this route and talking about one of the most famous Mandela effects. But anyways, James Bond, No One Lives Forever, Time to Kill, License to Kill, Octopussy, whatever it was. There is a bad girl who had braces, and then at the ending she meets Jaws, who has metal teeth, and he's a big monster. He's like 6'5", he has metal teeth, he's been in multiple movies, and at the ending they meet each other and they both smile, and he's into her because she has metal teeth as well, except they're braces, like a schoolgirl would have, or an adult, right? They're not just for kids anymore. If you watch the movie now, that scene's not in there. The scene is in there. They show him looking at the girl, and she's an adult woman. He's not a pervert. He's just an international hitman who kills people for money, but he's no pervert. The same scenes in the movie, he sees her, she sees him, they both smile at each other, and she does not have braces. Now, what's funny is about that Mandela Effect is I know for a fact she had braces. Even though I don't remember the name of the movie, that memory would make no sense if she didn't have metal teeth. What's the joke then? He's smiling at a woman? Jaws deserves love too. Jaws deserves love too. Now, I mean, could you imagine being in the theater now, and the scene is she opens her mouth and she doesn't have braces. She had been in multiple scenes of the movie. It was just this random girl with braces walking down the street. She was like a henchman type character, so you knew her and you knew she had braces. So when they meet, that's what was kind of funny about it, and then when they both smiled, people in the theater laughed. If she didn't have braces, it wouldn't make no sense. So that's the thing about the Mandela Effect. Whether or not it was spelled Fruit Loops, O-O, or Fruit Loops, F-R-U-I-T, I don't remember. There's a lot of them that I personally don't remember. I have a vague recollection. I go, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it was spelled like that, but I don't remember. But I do remember the cornucopia on the Fruit of the Looms. I do remember the Jaws smiling. I think her name was Dolly. And I remember the Berenstain Bears. I don't know when Nelson Mandela was born. I definitely don't know when he died. I never followed Nelson Mandela's career. I knew who he was, and I knew what he stood for. But it was nothing that I was particularly concerned about when or how he died. I mean, obviously, if he died in prison, which is the theory in the original timeline, that's a true injustice. But I remember him getting out and going on speaking tours and all of that stuff, helping to finally put an end to apartheid. I remember all of that. But if you told me he died in 2012 or he died in 2018, I couldn't tell you. But this James Bond one trips me out because I remember people laughing, and there's no joke if one of them doesn't have metal teeth. It's not funny. It's just two people smiling at each other. So that one has tripped me out. We haven't really talked about the whole Jaws thing recently, the James Bond. But so, the Mandela, I'll put all the stuff in the show notes for that one because I think it's the first time I brought it up. But a bunch of them I think are just misremembered. A bunch of them people are arguing now whether or not Fruit Loops changed back. Some people go, oh no, it used to be this, but now it's this. I go, if you asked me now, if you said, what does the box look like? How is it spelled? I still wouldn't be able to tell you. And then if you took me to the grocery store and I looked at it and studied it, 2 years from now, if someone asked me how it was spelled, I'd be like, I don't remember because it doesn't matter to me. But if you have a personalized Mandela effect, that matters only to you. And that's what this woman is saying. Christine goes, listen, I am from the timeline 2012. This is a lot of the Mandela Effect retconning community put themselves into certain timelines as in when they switched over. People my age who believe in the Mandela Effect, a lot of times we look at 2001. That's when stuff started to pop up that was weird. These changes in history. The going theory is that millions of us died in some nuclear holocaust around 2001, 2002. The world was not a very peaceful place back then for you non-world history majors. We all shifted into a new timeline. The 2012ers believe, and that's just one theory, right? There's a lot of reasons why people think there seemed to be some sort of conscious shift around 2001. we talk about this big shift in 2001. I forgot what I was going to say, but let's go back to Christine. Christine, she believes that she shifted over in 2012. And this is the other big push point for the retcon community, and they believe that this is 100% CERN's doing. CERN did this. And what's interesting is we've done episodes before on CERN. I come across a bunch of stuff that is on the borderline of insanity. And when I mean that, I don't mean the borderline between sane and insane. I mean on the borderline between insanity and just absolute mental chaos. That borderline. Every so often I come across the story or a notation or something like that about CERN, and I read it. I never report it because I don't really even know how to address it, but I guess I will now, right? This episode's clearly lost the plot, just like my arm. Oh, my poor arm. Just like my arm is in pain, so is the soul of the people going through this stuff. I came across this interesting post recently on CERN, because people write about this all the time, vis-a-vis the retconning, right? Mandela Effect stuff. This poster said that CERN is headquartered in Geneva. And the reason why it's in Geneva is because I had to research all this stuff because I don't know, right? She goes, listen, you look at all this stuff that's in Geneva. You have the World Health Organization. You have the United Nations. You have the, what are those people called? I didn't have any of my notes planned because I wasn't planning on talking about this. You had the World Economic Forum in Geneva. You have all these big international groups that are, in their way attempting to reshape the world in their image. The United Nations, World Economic Forum, they're the ones who very famously after COVID released that brochure that said you will own nothing and you will be happy, and that's been brought up a lot in conspiracy theory culture, this idea that everything is going to be stripped from us, it's going to be replaced with a subscriber-based model, and you will toe the line or you will get nothing. Politically, you'll just do what everyone says or you'll get nothing. And if you do toe the line, you don't own the movies, sure you don't own a car, sure you don't own a home, but you'll be happy. And that really, just dug right into the conspiracy theory culture right away. I mean, it's not a good thing. I think anyone who uses life subscription models know I definitely don't want my whole life ran like this. But, this post was that CERN is located within walking distance of all of these major power players in the international world. Why? Because the Higgs boson, the God particle, is something that was discovered with the operation of CERN. It's basically and I'm using this poster's words, not, scientific words or even my own, but it's this element that is the controller. Not like a little god hopped out of the machine, but you need this to basically create the universe. This is kind of one of the missing pieces. How did the Big Bang work? What's going on? They discovered the Higgs boson at CERN. It has a very, very short life. Doesn't last very long. Once you create one, it doesn't last very long. So this person posted, hey, this is the reason why CERN is located near all of these big power broker places in Geneva. So let's say you're with the United Nations and you're like, you know what? We really should probably start uniting these nations. There's a lot of wars going on. Maybe we should do what our job says, what it says on the building. But what we need to do first is we need to get some of that Higgs boson. Let's go get some of those God particles from CERN, and then we'll use it to basically fast-track a law of attraction type scenario. So let's get some of those Higgs over here and make the world a better place. We'll use it to reshape reality. This is the conspiracy theory, right? That CERN is reshaping reality, and that's the way that we're having all these Mandela effects. And so I looked at, I don't know anything about any of this stuff, right? I go, is CERN in Geneva? It is. It's a super huge complex, right? It crisscrosses countries, the actual super collider where they do all this stuff. But anyways, yeah, they are in Geneva. Okay. Is the World Health Organization, United Nations, is the World Economic Forum located in Geneva? Well, I know the United Nations isn't. And I looked it up and no, they're not. They have a office there. I'm sure it's an office full of very powerful people from all over the world. Yes. But it's not the headquarters, and they do have the World Economic Forum there, and they do have the World Health Organization there. And I was like, okay, so I mean, it's not 100%. The original post said that one of these offices was within walking distance of CERN. So I looked it up, right? I got to research this stuff. I can't take it at face value. I looked it up. I don't know about you, but I don't consider 14 miles walking distance. And you go, Jason, now you're just kind of quibbling. I mean, also with your arm, I'm sure you have trouble just walking from chair to chair in your place. Oh, the pain. I looked up, what is the half-life of a Higgs boson particle? It's like 1/1 billionth of a microsecond. It's like one of the fastest things that can possibly exist. I don't even think the Flash can blink that fast. So, I mean, especially you're like, hey, listen, boss, I know you keep trying to get me to go to get that Higgs boson, and for some reason you keep making me walk. I'm not going to be able to get there in time. I mean, maybe if I got superpowers, maybe if you threw me into the Large Hadron Collider and let some atoms collide with me, I could be super fast. But boss, no. I mean, it's like the shortest amount of time measurable is how long these things live. So, it's an interesting theory. The reason why it's located in Switzerland, because the country said right? Who would ever think the world would ever be at war again? But let's think ahead. When they decided to put CERN in Switzerland, they said, that way if there is a war, no country can weaponize this. It's an interesting theory, but it doesn't pan out. It just disappears too quickly. They made it sound like you could get a briefcase of these things and take them back to the World Health Organization office and go, what disease are we going to fake today? What are we going to do, guys? I got a whole box of bosons. So you have stuff like that. I'll put that link in the show notes because I did save it. I thought it was interesting. I'm just not going to cover it on the show. But then another thing popped up on my radar. Apparently there is a video of one of the heads of CERN, and I'll have to find, it was a very famous video at the time where the people at CERN are doing a happy video, from that Pharrell Williams song, 'Cause I'm happy, sing along, that song, right? You're like, kind of. I mean, when you said the word and the artist, I got it, but that's not the tune at all. Well, whatever, my arm hurts. I'm allowed to be off key. CERN did a video, because that was all the rage back then. People were doing, like, happy videos or whatever. And so CERN did one, and the guy who heads up CERN, one of the bigwigs there, let me pull up his name, because John Ellis, he was in that video. And in that video, it's been a long time since I've seen the video. I recently saw an update on it, but a long time ago in this happy video, I'll see if I can pull it up. I think he's wearing a shirt, or there might be a picture on the wall, but I think he's wearing a shirt that on one side of the shirt it says Mandela. This is the head of CERN, by the way, or one of the heads of CERN. He's wearing a shirt that says Mandela on it, and then he turns around and it has a James Bond reference on the back. And people have said, is this him making fun of us? Is he admitting that they've actually changed history? And they're admitting it with a smile on their face, something that's called Duper's Delight, which I personally don't know if it exists, but that gets brought up a lot in conspiracy theory community. This idea that you lie with a big smile on your face, it's part of the symbolism, it's part of the ritual. Well, John Ellis responded and said, what? No, that's not true. The reason why I had a shirt that said Mandela on, he works for CERN, which is so closely tied to the Mandela Effect. He goes, the reason why I was wearing a shirt or had a poster or whatever it was of Mandela was because I love Nelson Mandela. I love him so much I went through time and changed when he died. I broke him out of prison. I just watched the video for myself. What it is, apparently it's not a t-shirt. He's sitting there with 2 pieces of poster board on his chest. It's too cheap to get a t-shirt. You run CERN. I think you can afford a couple t-shirts from TeePublic. He has a t-shirt and he has 2 small posters in front of it. One of them say Mandela, and the other one says Bond 1, like James Bond. And you go, out of every possible thing he could be having on his chest, why those 2 things? Is he laughing in our face about the Mandela Effect? Which is interesting to me because the James Bond one feels more recent. Maybe I just heard about it more recently, but it feels like it's only come about in the past couple of years. But this Happy video was shot back in 2013. So why did he pick those two terms? He actually made a statement about it. He goes, every year at CERN we have a pantomime. The excuse is even more unbelievable than, oh, by the way, we changed the time stream. Why does he have two posters? One that says Mandela and one that says Bond on it. And you go, maybe he's hoping to pass a bond. Maybe CERN needs more money or something like that. They obviously don't have a high t-shirt budget. He goes, every year at CERN we do a Christmas pantomime. And one year, the theme was James Bond. And the other year, the theme was Nelson Mandela, who we revere as a hero of our time. So that's why. That doesn't make any sense at all. First off, like, maybe the James Bond thing, right? I can't think of anything more aggravating to me, other than an arm injury, than being invited to watch a bunch of dorks in lab coats pretend to be anything other than what they are, nerds. But can you imagine being invited to CERN and you're like, oh, sweet, you got extra large pockets. You're like, I'm going to grab some of those Higgs boson and run as fast as I can out of here before they die, make a wish, throw them up in the air and wish. But then you get there and they're like, oh, welcome to the 10th annual CERN pantomime Christmas special. You're like, uh-oh. Because it's a bunch of people who aren't funny. They're not talented in any way. They have no skills. That's why they're scientists, that they're social rejects. They took this job for a reason. It's the one thing they could do with all of the other social issues that they have. They're like, think on my feet? Improv? No way. Give me a beaker. Imagine them entertaining you for, I don't know, the next 2 to 3 hours. I'm assuming it takes a long time. And it's at CERN, so they keep rewinding time. Every time they get a line wrong, they're all cut. Like, oh, that's weird. I'm pretty sure that this scene already happened. But that character was eating Fruit Loops. Not Fruit Loops. Imagine a bunch of dorks and nerds. I mean, it actually gives me third-hand cringe. It's like cosmic cringe. I can actually feel I can just imagine being there with a bunch of just dorks acting like they're funny. And you ever run into a group of dorks? You're like, Jason, get back into the CERN stuff. I will. But this personal anecdote may be more interesting than the time-bending shenanigans happening today. I've run into this every once in a while. You run into a club of dorks, right? You're like, Jason, you're the dork. You injured yourself playing Battlefield 6. You're constantly talking about comic books. Listen, I am a dork. Yes, I am. So I'm allowed to say all this stuff. But every so often, you'll run into like a club of dorks. A clod. A group of dorks or nerds should be called a clod. You run into a clod of dorks. And every so often, there is one of them. First off, there's a lot of hot girl dorks. But every so often, there's an actual Chad dork. You know what I'm talking about? Like, he looks like he doesn't belong there, but he does. He's a big hunk. Look at my Jason, please don't describe how hot this guy is. We're really wondering. The show's taking a bizarre turn the past couple weeks. Oh, muscles, more muscles than me. How do you work out your triceps? Don't you get injured, sir? Oh, I'm all rubbing up against them. No, you know what I mean? Every so often you'll get one or two conventionally attractive male nerds. And I'm sure there's probably one or two at CERN also as well, right? They're face mogging. They just change the timeline. They go back. They introduce different men to their mother and manipulate the DNA. You probably go see this CERN pantomime show, and there's probably some hot girls there, because, there's always hot girls kind of everywhere. I mean, basically, I think it depends on you. You have to rate it on a scale. You're like, oh, I'm in an auto parts shop. Well, I guess she's hot, but if I was at a nightclub, you're like, Jason, get back to the story. What story are you even telling? This was about a sister. Okay. What was it talking about? Oh, yeah. So CERN goes, every Christmas we do a pantomime. And one year we did it based on James Bond. Okay, so a bunch of nerds running around going dun 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 and pretending to shoot each other with fingers, and this is not funny. It's terrible, probably. I'm just guessing, right? You're nodding, you're like, we do agree with that. Of course, it's horrible. But then one year they did a pantomime of Nelson Mandela. That's not funny. Right? That's not funny, and it's definitely not entertaining. It's Chris. Now, I'm not knocking Mandela. I'm not knocking Nelson Mandela and his work. But what I'm saying is, imagine it's Christmas time, and a bunch of your coworkers say, hey, we're going to put on a show for you. This is something we do every year. And you're like, oh, okay. And then a guy walks out on stage and goes, hi, I'm Nelson Mandela. And you're like, what? And it's the life story of Nelson Mandela told in pantomime. Actually, he wouldn't be talking. He would just walk out and stand there. You go, who's that? Is that Buzz Aldrin? Is it Cleopatra? What? Who is that? I don't know. Everyone's clapping. You're like, what are we clapping for? Who is that guy? And you're told the entire story of Nelson Mandela's life with 0 words. You're just supposed to know. And at the ending, you're like, what? So some guy got put in jail and got out? What was the rest of that? What was the weird part where he disappeared from the time stream? And then there was just an hour of silence, and then he reappeared. I don't believe that. I 100% don't believe that they did a Nelson Mandela pantomime. I think he's lying. That doesn't make any sense to the real life. Jason, it kind of does. It's Christmas time. You don't want to hear a story about a man whose country railroaded him into prison, and then he suffers there for a long time, may or may not have died, and then got out and finally destroyed the apartheid state. You don't want to see that stuff at Christmas time, right? You want to see, like, Jason, what do you want to see? I mean, it's not like the most famous Christmas story of all time involves a man horribly dying and then being resurrected. Not Jesus' story. I'm talking about Scrooge. You know, that's kind of a sad story too. All the ghosts and goblins and all that stuff. Yeah, but I don't believe them. I do not believe that for Christmas time they put on an entire pantomime about Nelson Mandela, and then that is why he is holding a sign up in a video. Does that mean I think that CERN is manipulating the timeline? I don't know. But I think John Ellis is lying about that. Until I am provided video proof of this cringe fest that CERN puts on. I don't believe that. Why is he... I honestly, I think the reason why he had that Mandela sign, he was making fun of the Mandela Effect. That's what I thought when I first saw the video back when it was on. I think it was like 2013. I thought he was taking the piss out of the Mandela Effect people. I do not believe that it had to do with the pantomime. So that was the other post I found recently about John Ellis explaining all this stuff. And someone posted about it on the Retcon subreddit. It almost immediately got deleted. I saved the post, but then I had to track down the video because the video got removed and all that stuff. I'm actually going to go back in time and introduce this segment as Kaiser flying the Carpenter Copter. I'm going to do my own Mandela Effect. Because originally this was supposed to be the second segment. There was a third other segment. I don't even remember where this segment was going. Oh yeah, could you imagine coming home and you have a sister that you never met before, but she was around your age? And you swear it wasn't your sister? Wouldn't that be crazy? That was the original story. But, you know, the pain in my arm has driven me to go off topic. No, it's funny. I actually did want to talk about that CERN stuff. I just didn't know if I ever would have a chance to. Both stories were so short. The one about the Higgs boson disintegrating right away, and then the John Ellis one, I go, I'll just kind of keep that in my mind as much as I can. And it all worked out, really. But, that's the episode. I mean, I had a whole other story about a faceless ghost, and I was going to say a little bit more about the sister, but that's kind of it. Christine's either having a mental health crisis, which is sad, or imagine having a Mandela effect that only you knew. It's not like you could even converse with other people and say, hey, remember when I used to not have a sister? They're like, who are you? I've never met you before. You're like, no, it's happening again. You're fading from existence. No, if you talk to strangers online, they don't know whether or not you had a sister. Even in these communities, Christine was kind of treated like a nutcase for posting this about her sister, because there's nothing you can't go, oh yeah, I do remember back in 2012, you not having a sister. It doesn't work. We have a communal knowledge of pop culture, of movies. But when it's an individual Mandela effect, only you are suffering from it. Whether it's a mental illness or a change in the timeline, both are completely disorienting and scary. If it's a mental illness, you can get treatment, you can get help. But if it's a personalized Mandela effect, if the world around you is changing and nobody else notices but you, and it's not mental illness, you truly do feel alone in the world, at least until the universe rewrites even you and rewrites your personality into someone who is always happy. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is at DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm so glad you listened to it today. Have a great weekend, guys.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's room of choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.